Welcome to my channel. I'm Gary Wariawan, and today we're going to talk about my perfect kind of micro four thirds camera. Let's go! Before we continue with today's video, if you are a current subscriber of my channel, welcome back. I hope that you will enjoy today's video, and thank you always for your support for my channel. If you're a new viewer here, also welcome. This channel is all about photography, filmmaking, camera, lenses, micro four thirds, and I'm also talking about music, guitar, rock metal, home recording, that kind of stuff. So if you're into those kind of things, please consider subscribing to my channel. And now let's continue with today's video. So if you're a follower of my channel, you might already know that I'm a big fan of micro four thirds camera system. You might also know that in the last few weeks, Panasonic and OM system, they both released the GH6 and the OM1 cameras, and I'm so happy about them because I'm a big fan of micro four thirds, and every new good micro four thirds products really makes me happy. Although I think that the GH6 and the OM1 is not really a big revolutionary kind of cameras, I still think they are great cameras nevertheless. They improve on significant areas compared to the older micro four thirds cameras that they are replacing. However, if you're a follower of my channel, you might also know that I'm a hobbyist and enthusiast when it comes to photography. I'm not a professional photography. I just love taking pictures, I just love taking videos, and I don't do it professionally for making money. It's just a side hobby, it's just a passion. And speaking about that, the new Panasonic GH6 and the OM1, they are professional cameras. They don't really attract me as an enthusiast. They're a little bit out of reach, if you know what I mean. These cameras, the GH6 and the OM1, although I think they are really great, they are really perfect micro four thirds cameras, they're overkill for people like me, for people like you who are just an enthusiast and hobbyist. And you know, in this video, I just want to share a little bit about my idea of the perfect camera, especially micro four thirds camera. Currently, my favorite camera and the camera that I think is the perfect camera for me are the Panasonic GX8, this guy right here, and the Panasonic G85 that's currently recording this video right now. I think they are almost perfect. There are just some things that needs to be improved on, and I will mention them in this video. And I think if Panasonic or OM system make this kind of camera in the future, I think they will sell really well, and this camera will speak to us enthusiast hobbyists, people like you, people like me. Before I dive into the specification of my perfect camera, I just want to mention a little bit my use case for my cameras. Because I'm an enthusiast and hobbyist, I don't really do big production filmmaking kind of stuff. I don't really do commercial high-end photography kind of stuff. I'm just doing travel photography for fun. I do a little bit of landscape photography. I do a little bit of street photography, out and about general photography. Nothing too crazy, just documenting my life with something that is much better than my smartphone. I also take a little bit of video for YouTube video like this, and also for a little bit of vlogging and just making a little bit of B-rolls. That's it, no crazy uses. So all of the features that I will mention later on in this video, they're just something that's basic, you know, but I want them to be done right so that the camera usability is improved, and it's much easier for us enthusiasts and hobbyists to use this camera for all of our needs. Alright, now let's talk about my perfect camera's specification. First, let's talk about form factor. If you follow my channel, you already know that I like everything to be small and lightweight, and this is no exception. I want my perfect camera to be small and lightweight, and preferably I love it to be in a rangefinder style, you know, like this GX8 where the top is flush, there's no hump for the viewfinder. I just love this sort of design, you know. It's more ergonomic for me. It's easier to pack if you put it in the camera bag because there's no hump on top, and it just looks more compact and less intimidating, especially when I use it for street photography and travel photography. Next, the screen. I want the screen to be tilting and flipping like this screen right here on the GX8 or the one on the G85 that's recording this video right now. This enables me to do a little bit of vlogging, you know, because I can see myself, I can frame myself easily, and it's also useful for still photography, especially if you're doing vertical compositions. You can do something like this, so you can take high angle or low angle and the screen can follow, and it's just more ergonomic in my opinion. Next, I want weather sealing, like on this GX8 and on the G85. Weather sealing is very important in my opinion because I do travel photography. I'm sure that a lot of you are also doing travel photography, and if not, maybe you live somewhere where the weather is not always nice and sometimes it rains, sometimes it snows, and just having weather resistant bodies or weather sealing in the camera, I think really helps to give you that peace of mind that your camera can withstand some weather elements. Next, autofocus. I want the autofocus to be fast and precise in both single autofocus and continuous autofocus. This Panasonic GX8 did single autofocus really well, especially for still pictures and in video as well. However, continuous autofocus in video really sucks and it's just not precise and it keeps hunting around. So an improved continuous autofocus on video is really something that I hope will be implemented in this idea of my perfect camera. It doesn't need to have AI focus or a focusing system that can detect your path or your face or whatever. As long as it can track and it can do continuous autofocus, then I'm really happy. It also doesn't need 1,000 points on the LCD or whatever. It's just silly in my opinion. I just want it to be a basic autofocus but works well in both single and continuous autofocus. In terms of still photography, I want 20 megapixel sensor, micro four thirds sensor on this idea of a perfect camera. However, I don't think resolution is everything, and even if it's not 20 megapixel, if it's 16, I'm personally fine by it. I'm not really dictated by megapixel. However, I want improved low light performance either by improving the sensor quality or by improving the camera's processing ability. I think that's more important than just the resolution. Speaking about video, 4K 60 will be really great on this kind of perfect camera. I think it will be really fun, and maybe 1080p at 120 frames per second will also be great to get that slow motion smooth footage that everybody seems to love. However, frame rate is not everything. I think what's more important than the frame rate is the footage quality itself. I particularly really enjoy the footage coming out from my Panasonic G85 because it just looks sharp, it just looks great, it just looks really nice, and it is gradable even though it doesn't have any log profile. So yeah, the main priority is just the footage quality of the video. Log profile will be really nice so that I can get that kind of flat look and then grade it myself in post to get the kind of looks that I want. However, it's not a must. Something that is flat enough in my opinion, like the natural profile on my G85 or the GX8, is more than good enough for me. I think it is more than gradable. I think dynamic range is important. However, the quality of the footage itself, I think, is more important than the availability of log profile. It goes without saying that I want my camera to be able to record video, and to be able to record video nicely, I'm also gonna need a good audio on the camera. And I don't really care about fancy microphone on the camera whatsoever. I care about the availability of mic input on the camera. That's all. And a good preamp on the camera like the one on my G85. That will be my priority. I don't care if it has multiple built-in microphones. No, I don't care. I want to use my own microphone and I want to get that audio quality just right in camera without having to use external recorder, which I think in my opinion is too much hassle. Also, to improve video quality and to make everything look smooth and stable, I want a really good image stabilizer in body, like the one on my G85. I think it's more than good enough. If it can be better than the one in the G85, then it will be really great. The in-body stabilizer also needs to work in still photography so that I can take slower shutter speed handheld without too much problem. It doesn't have to be too extreme, at least something like half a second or 1 second. I think that is more than good enough for my needs as an enthusiast. Now, when it comes to still photography, I often do what people call strobist photography, or using external flash to light up my subject. Naturally, I will want my perfect camera to have a decent enough flash sync speed, at least about 1 to 50th of a second, so that I can get that flexibility of control when it comes to doing strobist photography, to both control my subject with the flash or to control my ambient by increasing the shutter speed and not hitting the shutter sync speed. Next, burst rate. When it comes to still photography, I think burst rate is important, it's nice to have, but it's not top priority. So I think about 6 frames per second to 8 frames per second burst rate is more than good enough for me. It will enable me to capture subjects who is moving fast or something like that. But I don't think it's a top priority. More important than the burst rate in still photography, I think, is responsiveness of the camera. I really enjoy Panasonic cameras like my G85 or my GX8 because it is very fast and responsive when I turn it on. So by the time I press the power button, the camera turns on instantly and I can press the shutter button in less than 3 seconds so that I don't miss any moment when I'm doing photography. Speaking about operating the camera, I want my camera to have all sorts of different buttons and dials so that I can access important settings such as ISO, shutter speed, aperture, focus type, white balance easily on the camera without having to dig down into the menu system. My Panasonic GX8 is a perfect example of a camera that has complete sets of buttons and dials, and it's such a joy to use because all of the settings that I need to access are laid out perfectly in the buttons or in the dials. Still speaking about dials and buttons, I really want my perfect camera to have lots of different custom function buttons so that I can assign shortcuts into these buttons so that I can change settings even faster. Now back into the topic of ergonomics. Although I want my camera to be small, lightweight, and in the form of a rangefinder, I also want the camera to have a decent grip so that it can be easier to hold. Look at my Panasonic GX8 right here. It has what I call a good compromise of grip and shutter button position. And ideally, I want the shutter button position and the grip to be like the one on my Panasonic G85. It's just excellent to handle and to press the shutter button. I don't really like the shutter button position on my Panasonic GX7. It's on the top of the right part of the camera, right over there, which is really awkward to press, especially if the grip is big and you'll have this gap between your index finger and your middle finger, and it's just not easy to press. I want the shutter button to be correctly positioned on the grip like so. And that is the specification of my idea of the perfect Micro Four Thirds hobbyist enthusiast camera. It seems like a long list, but to be honest, this is what I want from an enthusiast or hobbyist camera. Nothing less than that, but also nothing more than that. And if Panasonic or OM system will make this kind of camera in the future, I really think that people, especially hobbyists and enthusiasts like you, like me, will buy this kind of camera and Micro Four Thirds will be popular again. And that wraps up today's video. So that is all for today's video. I hope that you find this video to be useful. Please comment down below and share with us what is your idea of your perfect camera. What will the specification look like? Also, if you have any question about this video, comment down also below and I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my small channel by liking this video, sharing this video and subscribing to my channel down below. It will help me a lot to motivate me to keep making these videos for you. Thank you and goodbye.